Welcome back. You are watching the Weekly Brief. I'm Shweta Kothari. With me is Karthik and Rakesh. And what caught our eyes this week? It was the Lancet report that talks about how high palatable content and consumption patterns in this world is fast changing. More and more young people are now consuming items which are ultra processed, and it's taking a beating on our health. So diabetes, cholesterol, everything is on the rise.
Oh yes, and why is it that study after study one is not surprised with this data? And I think, the data and different research papers, different studies emerge every now and then. But I think at the crux of this whole challenge of ultra-processed food is the fact that ultra-processed food is ultra cheap. It is available. And I think singularly, if you were to pin the blame on institutions which are leading to obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, even cancer, the big C word, I think at the end of the day, it has to be pinned down to MNCs, which have the pockets, which have the wherewithals to dish out absolute nonsense to consumers across the world.
We know now that retail sales of ultra-processed foods has increased by 40 times in the last couple of years alone. And that's obviously got to do with the fact that it's easily available, it's cheap, and it's out there for everyone to consume from any point of time. So to have a more nutritious breakfast, one will have to really sit down, prepare that breakfast, and one doesn't have the resources and the wherewithal. So, it is convenient to have it.
Absolutely. I think, there is this major societal pivot that's happened in the country in the last 25 years, post-liberalization. At one point of time, I remember Chidambaram, the finance minister, talking about inflation. So he brought in this anecdote about Indians no longer eat just at home. They eat out. And that eat out quantum has only increased over the years. In my housing society, there's a battle going on that you should allow these delivery guys who serve food instantaneously beyond 11 p.m. So, there are a lot of youngsters who are unmarried, this PG crowd, which is sold to this particular, it's a great marketing pitch, fair enough. Pricing is not the only determinant. Okay. Determinant is snackability, determinant is fear of missing out, determinant is the ability to...
And faster delivery.
Faster delivery. I mean, all of them. And then, finally, I think radical steps are being taken. At one level, eating at home, which was disciplined, which was regulated, which had far more hygienic. And we have such variety of breakfast. For example, in this country, you go to south, you go to north. In north, you go to Lucknow, you go to Bihar, Patna. There are two different serves. Now, the point is that we have so much led ourselves into this path of eating out and eating the junk food, which I call, and the MNC pitch is so overwhelming. And the Indian companies also have caught that flu. So, for the first time, I would imagine we have a prime minister who stuck his neck out.
And went against the jalebis and the samosas.
No, not just jalebis. The palm oil.
Millets, palm oil.
And now I just moderated a session on edible oils, which was, actually at the core of it, because a lot of big companies are there, was this pitch by all, packaged food saying that no palm oil in this. So whether people understand palm oil is good, bad, ugly, I don't know. I'm not the expert. But what do they understand is that Prime Minister wants obesity levels to come down. For that, edible oil has to come down.
You have, the minute you move out of Delhi and the north of India, there's a difference between eating out and eating ultra-processed food.
Correct. Absolutely right.
Eating out is not necessarily bad. I mean, I've spent substantial...
It depends on what you're eating and where you're eating.
No,
I mentioned eating in and eating out, both ultra-processed food.
And, you realize there's a lot more culture of eating out because you're working professionals. They get their breaks, they go out, they have healthy food, they have their dosas, they have, all sorts of nice sambar with it. Point being, you're eating ultra-processed food because it's cheap and it's easily available.
Correct.
But also there's a problem here with restaurants. You don't have accessibility. You don't have enough and more restaurants which are cooking that cheap food, at least in North India. And that's the difference between North and South.
I think, India has a great history of street food, which is both, domesticated as also global in its appeal. I think, we don't have India through its districts and streets is the best possible diversity in street foods.
Right. So what's the solution then?
I think, the solution, again, as always, lies in innovation, lies in startups. And I want to give this example of a juice maker. I don't want to take the name of the juice maker, but I think it's going to be fairly obvious and I'm going to be as raw as I can about the explanation, is the fact that there was a juice maker which had the shelf life of that bottle of juice for not more than 3 days. That was then bought over by a more diversified conglomerate. And guess what? The shelf life has gone up to 40 days. You don't need to refrigerate it. More preservatives, more sugar, more artificial colors, more artificial flavors. So I think the answer really lies in innovation. really enabling startups in this country to come out with solutions. And there are a few which are there now, which don't give you palm oil-based chips, they give you baked chips, where you take out something of a packet, the ingredients inside are millets, are more healthier options than what the traditional multinationals have been serving us. Sure, they are more expensive, but the point is, if you have more such players coming in, and and there are influencers who are doing a fabulous job at promoting this concept of reading the label, and influencers across social media, I don't think the doctors have done as much or the government has done as much. I think the influencers are doing a far better job at educating Indians to read the label and understand what goes inside those packets that they open. And if people become a little more aware through this influence available on social media, and more startups are able to come up with solutions, with packages which have healthier ingredients, it's going to push, at least nudge the multinationals to also take a corrective step.
so
that is not all about profits. It is also about...
I
think they're transparent because the labels are clear. But
they're
I
not
think...
very transparent.
No, they're not. The labeling is a problem. So, the food
regulator,
regulator, which is called FSSAI, is toothless in that sense. It is governed by 4 ministries. In fact, the irony in the legislation piece or the regulation piece is India is a classic case. Food is governed by Health Ministry, Food Processing Ministry, and agriculture. There's no one single, andata in that sense.
You're right. So I remember the Cerelac example, right? I think it's coming from there, or the Maggi example.
Lead in Maggi example.
So guess what? Lotus Biscoff, one of the most popular European biscuit brands, is also coming to India and is going to make in India. I think if you were to compare the label of the Lotus Biscoff which is made in India versus the Lotus Biscoff which is made anywhere else in Europe, the difference is going to be amply clear. So at the end of the day, you need innovation, you need that price point by mass adoption to come down, which is going to nudge the multinational corporates to understand, hopefully, that beyond a point, it's not just about profits. There needs to be some purpose into what they are selling.
All right. So while FSSAI is still trying to regulate as much as it can, all the MNCs try having hot food if you can. That's the message they're coming in. By the way, the Lancet report, which says millions of people are on risk of cardiovascular disease, of diabetes, and many other illnesses which are related to lifestyle and related to eating out. That is what caught our eye in the newsroom this week.